In 2023, American banks collected $12.6 billion from a single fee that most people never notice on their statements. It's called the interchange fee, and every time you swipe your debit or credit card, merchants pay between 1.5% and 3.5% of your purchase to your bank. That cost gets passed directly to you through higher prices on everything you buy. A coffee that should cost $4 costs 4.15. Groceries that should be $100 become 103. You're paying this hidden tax on every single transaction. And here's the controversial part. Most other developed countries have capped these fees at 0.2% to 0.3%, but American banks have lobbied for decades to keep them sky high. Let me break down exactly how the system works and why it's costing your family thousands of dollars every year. The interchange fee system started in the 1950s when Bank of America launched the first credit card program. Back then, the fees were around 1% and seemed reasonable. Banks argued they needed to cover the cost of processing transactions and protecting against fraud. Merchants agreed because credit cards brought in more customers who spent more money. It was a win-win situation. But here's what happened next. By the 1980s, Visa and MasterCard had created a duopoly controlling over 80% of card transactions in America. With no real competition, they started raising interchange fees year after year. In 1991, the average fee was 1.15%. By 2001, it jumped to 1.65%. Today, it sits between 1.5% and 3.5% depending on the card type. Premium rewards cards charge the highest fees, which is why banks push them so aggressively. They're not doing you a favor with those travel points. They're making merchants pay extra, and those merchants raise prices for everyone, including people who pay with cash. The math is brutal. A family spending $60,000 a year on necessities is unknowingly paying an extra $1,200 to $2,100 annually through inflated prices caused by interchange fees. That's a car payment. That's a vacation. That's a significant chunk of money disappearing from your budget without you realizing it. Small business owners feel this pain even more directly. A restaurant owner in Ohio told reporters that interchange fees cost his business $23,000 last year. That's more than he paid in rent, more than his insurance. He can't negotiate these fees. He can't shop around for better rates. The card networks set the prices, and merchants either accept cards or lose customers. Some businesses tried adding surcharges for card payments to offset the cost, but customers got angry and took their business elsewhere. The card networks know this, which is why they've written rules preventing merchants from steering customers toward cheaper payment methods. You walk into a store and everything looks like it costs the same whether you pay cash or card. But behind the scenes, the merchant loses 2% to 3% on every card transaction. So they build that cost into the sticker price for everyone. Cash customers end up subsidizing card users. Low income families who can't qualify for credit cards end up paying higher prices to cover the fees of wealthy customers using premium rewards cards. The system is fundamentally backwards. Now, here's where it gets even more frustrating. In 2010, Congress passed the Durbin Amendment to cap debit card interchange fees for large banks. The cap was set at 21 cents plus 0.05% of the transaction. Economists predicted this would save consumers $6 billion annually through lower prices. Banks went ballistic. They claimed the regulation would destroy the banking system. They said they'd have to eliminate free checking accounts and cut services. Some of that happened, but studies showed that retailers in competitive markets did lower prices after the fee cap took effect. Target reduced prices by 1%. Other major retailers followed suit. The savings were real, even if they weren't as large as hoped. But here's the catch. The Durbin Amendment only applied to debit cards from banks with over $10 billion in assets, and it didn't touch credit cards at all. Credit card interchange fees have continued climbing. Premium cards now charge merchants up to 3.5%, and banks have been pushing these cards harder than ever because they're so profitable. You get an email offering 100,000 bonus points if you sign up for a new card. That sounds great until you realize the bank is making that money by charging every merchant you visit higher fees, which means higher prices for everyone. The European Union took a different approach. In 2015, they capped interchange fees at 0.2% for debit cards and 0.3% for credit cards. Australian regulators did something similar in 2003, capping fees at 0.5%. Studies from both regions showed that prices decreased in competitive retail sectors after the caps took effect. Banks complained about lower profits, but the payment systems didn't collapse. Cards still worked. Fraud protection continued. The sky didn't fall. American banks argue that higher interchange fees fund rewards programs and fraud protection. There's some truth to this. Credit card fraud costs are significant, and banks do invest in security. But here's the reality check: banks in Europe and Australia still offer fraud protection with much lower fees. The difference is they can't offer lavish rewards programs. You might get 0.5% cash back instead of 2%, but prices across the economy would be lower to compensate. The current system concentrates benefits among higher income card users while spreading costs across everyone. A 2022 study by the Federal Reserve Bank of Boston found that households earning over $150,000 a year receive an average of $1,133 annually in credit card rewards, while households earning under $20,000 effectively pay $23 per year to subsidize those rewards through higher prices. The poorest Americans are literally paying the richest Americans to use credit cards. This isn't a free market outcome, it's the result of careful lobbying and network effects that make competition nearly impossible. The payment card industry spent over $70 million on lobbying in the last decade. They've successfully blocked multiple attempts to increase regulation or cap fees. When Senator Dick Durbin proposed expanding his amendment to cover credit cards in 2013, the banking lobby crushed the effort within weeks. Card networks argue that merchants could refuse to accept cards if the fees were truly unfair, but that's not realistic in 2024. Over 80% of consumer transactions happen electronically. A business that doesn't accept cards might as well put up a closed sign. The networks have created a situation where merchants have no choice but to accept their terms, and consumers have no visibility into the costs they're paying. Some retailers have fought back. In 2012, a class action lawsuit resulted in Visa and MasterCard paying $6.2 billion to merchants, but the settlement didn't change the fee structure. Walmart has been particularly vocal, even refusing to accept certain card types in some stores. But these are exceptions. Most businesses quietly pay the fees and raise prices to compensate. So, what can you do about this? First, understand that your rewards aren't free. You're getting back a portion of what everyone is overpaying through inflated prices. If you want to minimize your contribution to this system, use debit cards instead of credit cards when possible. Debit interchange fees are lower, especially at large banks covered by the Durbin Amendment. Better yet, use cash for small purchases. A $5 coffee doesn't need to generate a 15-cent bank fee. Second, support small businesses that offer cash discounts. Some gas stations charge less per gallon for cash payments. Some local restaurants offer 3% off your bill if you pay cash. These businesses are trying to pass savings directly to customers instead of padding bank profits. Third, contact your representatives and tell them you support interchange fee regulation. The Credit Card Competition Act was introduced in 2023 to require banks to offer at least two payment network options on credit cards, which would increase competition and potentially lower fees. It hasn't passed yet, but public pressure matters. The banking lobby is powerful, but they're not invincible if enough people demand change. The bottom line is this: you're paying a hidden tax on every purchase you make, and it's going straight into bank profits. $12.6 billion a year could be in consumers' pockets or supporting small businesses instead of padding the margins of financial institutions that are already among the most profitable companies in America. Other countries have proven that lower interchange fees don't break the payment system, they just shift money from bank shareholders to regular people. That seems like a trade worth making. Follow for more financial truths they don't want you to know about.